So I don't have any lore or some kind of joke for today, so instead I'm gonna talk about Kingdom Hearts for a second. I'd like to see Tarzan make another appearance in Kingdom Hearts. Do you know how good it would be to have flow motion in a world like Tarzan? The tree sliding alone is good enough for this. Then there's the potential for what you could do with the campsite. This movie just feels like it's made for flow motion. Too bad we'll never get that though, but it's fun to imagine. Anyways, onto the video. Tarzan, a Disney movie about a human baby that is raised by a troop of gorillas after his parents were killed on an island they inhabited after getting shipwrecked. He then comes into contact with other humans and ends up discovering more about himself and his species, but it also conflicts with the family that he's known since he was an infant. Disney's telling of this story goes off of the original version, Tarzan of the Apes, made by Edgar Rice Burroughs in 1912, though there are a lot of differences and things that just aren't explored. Something that is pretty vital to point out is that all of Tarzan is not just one book. It was popular enough to get 24 sequels. 24 sequels, and those are just the ones made by Edgar Burroughs. That is a lot of writing. Speaking of, I actually did an English paper for this movie for a final because I hadn't watched the movie before then, which ends up killing two birds with one stone. My final was completed and I did research for this video. I also did good on that paper too, even though I really feel like I shouldn't have. I watched the movie and did the entire 5 to 6 page paper in less than 24 hours, and I don't like it. It was my least favorite paper if I'm being honest. Anyways, there were a lot of books, but that's not the only type of media that came out of Tarzan. There were also television shows and a ton of films. Oddly enough, aside from one game on the Game Boy / Game Gear and a pinball game before counting that one, the only version of Tarzan to get video game adaptations was the Disney version, including some representation in Kingdom Hearts. And today I'll be looking at the Disney's Tarzan video game and see if it should be shared in the popularity of, well, everything else. This game retells the events of the movie while having levels in between or during them, which is similar to a lot of license-based games for movies. A good amount of the movie is used for this game too, and I don't entirely know why, but I didn't expect the amount to be used to be so big. But there are a few things that aren't shown which ends up taking out a lot of context of the big picture, that being Tarzan discovering himself and his struggle with being accepted in the troop. For some reason that feels a lot more put off to the side than I feel like it should be. Earlier on it seems pretty well, but afterwards some things won't make the most amount of sense without having seen the movie prior. However, when it comes to these games, it's usually safe to assume that the person playing has already watched the movie, so those who know, and those that don't. All of this is typical license-based stuff and there's not really much else to talk about, unfortunately. However, I will admit, maybe some things are better to not have context. You can still assume what happens here though. The movie clip quality that's used in this game is actually surprisingly good. It has good audio and is visually nice. Not as good as the movie of course, but still pretty dang good. Something that adds to this is that some of the voice work is done by the same voice actors, though there are some different ones. Normally, I'd be upset about the difference of voice actors while still reusing movie clips, but 1, the characters that have different voice actors have their lines revoiced for movie clips, which thank goodness, I love when games do that for consistency's sake. And 2, you might not notice that some of them are different due to how little they actually speak in the game. The character models in-game, while they aren't exactly the best, you are able to tell precisely what everything is. Even the difference between Turk and the other gorillas is noticeable. Maybe I'm giving a bit more credit than I should, but when I've played games that make main characters look generic, I can never be too sure. Anyways, the levels all start out with their own title card, which is just a screenshot from the movie with some text on it. Nothing really stylized for these aside from the bonus levels being sketches, which is really nice. But I do prefer any form of title card like this over just a blank loading screen. Environments are mostly jungle as you would expect, and they look pretty good with some solid painted backgrounds to boot. It'd also be nice to have a few more levels that take place at night or give a clearer distinction between bright and dark. Now that is a little thing because there's not that many levels that take place at night to begin with, but the ones that do take place at night half the time don't look different. And lastly, the music. Some of the OST is based off of some songs from the movie's soundtrack, which was done by Phil Collins. By the way, I'm taking a moment to shield Phil Collins. He makes amazing music and also did music for Brother Bear, for anyone that remembers that movie. But moving on, the famous songs from the movie have their own version in this game. Two Worlds, Son of Man, Strangers Like Me, and Thrashing the Campsite are all in here. The original versions are also copyrighted, so I'm a little concerned about using them in this video, but it should be fine, I hope. Now, is this the first time music from the movie has been used? No, but being able to hear these iconic songs in the game are always a plus. You mostly play as Tarzan as you make your way to an umbrella at the end of levels by running around, swinging on vines and ropes, jumping among trees and animals, and scaling walls. Occasionally, he can slide on trees and has to run away from something towards the screen. Tarzan is able to pound the ground, which can break certain patches of the ground and trees that are hollow, as well as crates that he is on top of. There are multiple things that you can pick up throughout levels. One thing is a knife that grants you the ability to stab and swing at enemies with it. Another object is the different types of fruit. Bananas restore any lost health, while orange fruit increases your health for that level. Tarzan is able to throw fruit normally without any kind of pickup, and these are unlimited, but these next few pickups are power-ups for the throwable fruit with a limited amount of ammo for each type. The blue fruit is explosive with a fairly large radius. The pink fruit is incredibly powerful, which one-shots enemies that are not bosses, and the purple fruit scatters as it is thrown, which can hit multiple enemies. Around levels there are coins that can be gotten. Now, though these are technically collectibles by the game standards, for every 100 you collect, you'll get an extra life. Speaking of collectibles, there are 2 others that you can find in every level. 6 letters that spell out Tarzan's name, and 4 sketches. Collecting the 6 letters gets you a movie clip, while getting all 4 sketches lets you play a bonus level after the main one. The bonus levels depend on the level you played, but there's swimming, riding on a stork, and tree sliding. During these, you have a time limit to collect as many coins as possible. The coins you collect are added to the coins you already have, and picking up purple fruit during these will add more time for you to collect more. After every main level, you're given a result screen showing what letters and sketches you found, as well as an overall percentage of what you've gotten from the level. The explorability aspect of levels is really cool to me. The normal levels typically aren't just a straight line. They have multiple pathways that weave around, above, and under each other, which makes levels look and play out to be really interesting, with each of them having their own unique quirks to them. Swinging on vines, maneuvering from tree to tree, and scaling walls was all really fun to do, though the scaling part could be a bit faster. I enjoy it, but not enough to go at a snail's pace. It's a great take on 2.5 level design, I think. And it's something refreshing for me as I haven't had a platformer that has played like this before. The collectibles do give enough incentive to explore the levels too, as most of the bonus levels are fairly enjoyable. The movie clips are a little debatable because at that point you might as well just get the original movie, but they do look good enough in this game to slightly justify it. Plus, what's used for levels was also nice to see. Like I said before, most of the movie is used in this game, and that is especially the case for the levels. The first level literally takes place in a scene where the interval is like 5 seconds max in the movie. You even get to play as Jane running from baboons and Turk when she and the gorillas are thrashing the campsite. Plus you play as Turk for the swimming bonus levels when Tarzan is older. There's also a unique bonus level where Turk and Tantor are running from Kerchak when Tarzan is trying to hang out with the other humans. And I do find that to be a very, very nice inclusion. Though it is a little bit odd that that's not a main level, but whatever. Speaking of Kerchak though, you surprisingly don't fight him. That is a pretty important moment of the movie, and there's not much justification for that not being included since the Saber and Clayton fights are in the game. That's really my only gripe with how the levels are used. By the way, there is a hard mode for the game, but since it doesn't affect anything story-wise, I didn't bother. Especially after what happened the last time I unlocked a harder difficulty mode. I say that like that wasn't that long ago. But just to add one more thing, this game is already pretty hard to begin with, so the fact that there even is a hard mode is kinda surprising. This is especially the case for the boss fights. Now, maybe the harder difficulty gets a little bit dumb, but I'm not really sure of that because I didn't play this on the harder difficulty. But if any of you guys have any experiences with the hard difficulty, make sure to let me know. These short-range knife attacks are garbage to me. I can almost never hit anything without putting myself in complete danger to hit something, and you never have to try and hit something with these small attacks when you have fruit that can be tossed long range, can hit multiple enemies, and can even one-shot in the right situations. Something that could have helped with this is having sticks lying around in levels that Tarzan can pick up. Him doing so along with the knife would transform it into a spear, allowing for longer reach with the attack and would break after enough uses. That would have been a great way to incorporate the spear into the game, and this was even done with the saber fight, so they could have done it for the rest of the game. I just felt like meleeing didn't have a purpose when fruits basically covered everything, and I didn't have to put myself in as much danger. Also, there are two level segments that I don't like too much. The segments where you run towards the screen usually don't allow you to get hit very often, or else you'll lose instantly, and sometimes the hitboxes for surrounding hazards are a bit bigger than they should be. The tree sliding segments almost feel like they expect you to already know when something is coming, because reacting to some branches is almost impossible. It just feels kinda unfair to first time players. It's a little hard to tell what creatures are in the background and when they'll be able to hit you. And this is partially due to how the camera can be zoomed in a bit more than it should be sometimes, and you can't adjust the camera at all. This is especially the case with birds. It sucks trying to avoid birds in this game. However, if you're just straight up lucky, you might not even have to deal with those. Also, the two completely 3D levels near the end are kinda jarring, since almost all of the game before these levels were primarily 2.5D or a chase segment of some kind. It'd be different if there were a few more levels that were similar to these earlier on, but since these are the last two levels before the final boss, they kind of feel out of place compared to the rest of the game. I mean, sure, there is one swimming segment earlier on that's kind of 3D, but even then, that's just a small part to the entire level. Again, it just feels jarring having these 3D levels out of nowhere. This game is rather enjoyable. Sure, there are some things that bring it down a bit gameplay wise, but they are smaller parts to the bigger whole, with me having more fun experiences, with the worst of it being annoyances that have easy fixes to them rather than being incredibly frustrating. Going through the jungle is fun, at least for the majority of gameplay, and it can also be quite the challenge. The story and presentation were also solid enough to get back a few points, as those were better than I expected, especially with the movie's popular music being in the game. This is a pretty good game to keep on you, and any major Tarzan enthusiast can take good pride in having it. However, many of you Tarzan enthusiasts are out there. What's going on, my fellow residents? It's me, TheFrozenCavern, and thank you guys for making it to the end of this video. Now, I do have one special announcement. My next video is going to be Ben 10 Cosmic Destruction. I know a lot of people have been waiting on this one ever since I uploaded Vilgax Attacks, and I'm glad to be finally getting to this game. I know the wait has been long, but hopefully when that review comes out, it'll be exactly what you guys have been waiting for, and then some. Also, I'll be trying to do a review for SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated, and that'll be after Ben 10, of course. I don't know how long it'll take me to actually get around to having that video out, because that game can end up being quite long, depending on how I play it, so hopefully that one ends up coming out quickly as well. But in case you have not already, make sure you guys go down into the description below, because that's where all of my social medias are located. My Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Discord are all in the description, and they are all ways for you guys to be notified of whenever I upload another video or have any updates for the channel. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more, as well as share this video out with your friends and family. But until the next video, take care.